Hey, Danielle.
Hi, Madison.
Thanks for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. It's exciting. It's a good day. I feel refreshed, excited, ready. It's going to be a good day. How are you feeling?
I'm doing well. There's a lot of excited energy in my body right now, nervous energy, but I'm telling myself it's good.
Yeah.
Context for the audience. My brother is getting married today.
Woo.
So very happy for him. Shout out, shout out. But yeah, so happy to have you on the show, Danielle. So we met through my other brother who is dating Danielle.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal this girl.
I keep in my head, I'm like, I feel like I'm Maddie's plus one to the wedding, not Keelan.
And I'm cool with it. I'm all about it. All right, Danielle, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Give me a rundown.
Well, I'm a real cool kind of girl.
Tell me something
no,
you don't know.
I'm kidding. Well, I feel like I'm a creative personality. I, kind of get myself going by looking at like creative outlets like writing, music, journalism, and I don't know. I just I enjoy life. I try to be. I think I'm a realist, and I have I'm not like overly optimistic, but I think I've been described as like a glass half full kind of person. So I try to be optimistic, and I really enjoy other people. I enjoy being happy and laughing. Laughing is like my favorite thing. So, yeah, that's more or less, I don't know. I feel like I definitely like when I do art, it's probably not how you should say it, do art, but when I feel most tapped in like creatively is probably when I'm feeling something more like depressing, a difficult emotion that I seek out art in order to kind of process and make sense of. So I've kind of been in a creative slump because of the fact that I've been happy, which is awesome, but also I don't feel creatively inspired as much when I'm happy. All of my like art has been when I've been like really in the trenches with depression and so that's a little bit about me, folks.
Thank you for sharing. It's really interesting. I didn't know that about you. I should also give context to the audience that you're a Philly girl.
Yeah, I'm from Philly. Yes.
She's been shocking me about how she says water. Water.
Philly strong. The top two words that you need to know in Philly are, as you just said, water. And are you familiar with the term John?
Like the bathroom?
No. I don't know what part of the country says that. John, it's spelled Jawn, and it's basically anything at all. I could be like, pass me that John over there, or we were going over to the John and blah, 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 blah. Or it's just a noun that you can use interchangeably, like anywhere.
It sounds kind of lazy. Them Philly people.
Yeah.
Lack of vocab.
It's so funny when I'm trying to like communicate at work and we'll be like, yeah, like, did you grab that one John? Okay, pass the other John to me because the other John goes there. Like, but yet somehow we all know what we're talking about. It's pretty funny.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. Well, thank you. I feel smarter now already. Can you tell me a little bit about like what are your priorities? What means a lot to you?
I feel like there are a few basic things that need to be right in order for me to feel good about myself and my life. I would say keeping my living space like clean and just organized in some way, not to an extreme degree, but I just noticed like it's just something that in order for me to feel like at peace, I kind of need to regulate. So I would say priorities are trying to keep a clean living space, trying to keep a clean living space in my mind.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And like valuing and maintaining my relationships and my friendships, and like seeking them out. I'm a really big texter, and I have a lot of friends from all across the country because I just really, well, it's no shock that my major was communications in college because I really enjoy like connecting to people and trying to communicate with them. And that also ties into writing because the way I text isn't like LOL, like HBU, like I'm like, I'll text like, you know, I kind of text how I write. Like I'll send like paragraphs and paragraphs about how I feel or, you know, so maintaining my relationships, I feel like is a big priority for me. And then just trying to, I think, keep my spiritual health good and my mental health, and then making sure my relationships are intact. I think I start to feel unstable when those things fall apart, when if I feel out of touch spiritually, if I feel like I've let my physical atmosphere become messy, if I feel like my relationships aren't where they should be, or, you know, if there's any tiff in a relationship I have, it like really like eats at me. Maybe I'm a people pleaser too. I know I kind of am, so there's that, but but at the same time, you know, yeah, I just always want those things to be good in my life for me to feel at peace. So that's, I guess, what I prioritize the most.
I love it. Love to hear it. Thank you. And so you mentioned a little bit about how you majored in communications in college and journalism as well, correct?
I was broadcasting, which is like, they're very similar fields. We dabbled in each other, but I was more in the broadcasting communications rather than like the written journalism communications. But yeah.
Got it. Can you tell me more about how you're dipping into further, like after college, into those areas?
Yeah, well, you know, truthfully, it's been steady going. Like it's been hard to, and that's my own fault. I think like you need to be ambitious and determined and willing to sacrifice a lot to put yourself in the position to be like a radio host or the things that I want to do, which is not to say that I'm not determined and ambitious and all those things, but I've never been the type to want to like climb the ladder and like step on people's toes in order to get there. And I know like in my field you have to kind of start at the bottom in order to, you know, you could be like an assistant grabbing people coffee for years and years until you know, finally, and I get that that's how life works. I'm just a little bit reluctant to, I don't want to sacrifice the things that I mentioned that I prioritize. I don't want to sacrifice those things in place of a job that I don't want to do in order to get where I'm going. And I know that that's, you know, maybe that isn't ambitious. But the point is, well, it just personally, I've been wanting to, as you have, create my own podcast, because I really, if someone was able, you know, said like, here's a radio position, you can be a host, like, bam, there you go. Like, I'd be like, oh my gosh, amazing. But it's the fact that I know that through talking to professionals and stuff in the field of radio that I asked them once, I was at like a panel at school, like where they were speaking, and I raised my hand and I asked like, how did you all get in the position to finally be on air? And they all had really similar responses about that. It was like pure luck. It was like they were an assistant, but one day like the main radio host called out or was sick and they filled in. Wow. And then that got their foot in the door. Like they all had similar answers in that way. And I found it really interesting, but also somewhat discouraging, knowing that what I want to do, I think relies a lot on luck and likability and just kind of if you have that like it factor. And I think also to have that it factor or to be a radio personality, you have to be willing to sacrifice a lot of like you have to be willing to give the world a lot of yourself and be vulnerable, you know, tell personal stories, give like hot takes that might be controversial opinions, like, you know, whatever stirs the conversation, or like gossipy. If you're talking about topics, it's like, and I think I've struggled morally with being like, as interesting as that is, like, what am I possibly contributing to?
100%.
And like, is that gonna, in the long run, satiate my soul and just make me happy if I feel like I'm, you know, I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I've just battled with all of that. So my first priority is starting a podcast because I feel like I have control of that and I'm not doing it for anyone else. I don't have to be a part of a specific agenda or whatever. So that's my goal. So I'm currently a banquet server. That's right. And the good thing about that opportunity is that I saw it as something where I could make money while also starting to pursue my own path that would hopefully lend itself to putting myself, you know, in a better position to become more established and get a job in my field.
I think you're being incredibly productive because you're controlling what content you would put out there yourself. And you're also taking care of yourself in the meantime.
Yeah. Thanks. Because I feel I get like discouraged sometimes. But no, I appreciate that.
I think this is like an interesting thing. I'm not going to explain it perfectly, but when I was in college, I was a nursing major for a small amount of time, a year and a half. And we like made like, we had like little petri dishes where we like made like we grew like bacteria and like fungi. And so in my opinion is like you are in the incubation period. So you're growing. And it's still a very important part.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. For sure. It's a fun analogy.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one because I don't know. But I see a lot of growth in you. I see a lot of potential. And I think you do have the it factor, as you mentioned.
Stop.
Well, I'm excited to see your journey. I'm here for it. All right. And so what gets your creative juices flowing and what gets you in a flow?
It's funny because there's been times when I've sat down with the intention of writing a song or writing a poem or just writing period and it have gotten absolute garbage or just nowhere. And so I found that the times when, you know, I haven't tried to be intentional about it is when I've created the best things. And sometimes it'll be like at work when I'm like I was telling you off the record, like about, you know, something that happened at work that inspired me to write a poem, but I didn't like sit down and it was like in my head the lines just started coming to me and I eventually went to the bathroom and kind of just wrote them down, but it took like 5 seconds to have this like final product. One of the best songs that I think I've written and possibly the best song that I've written, I wrote like, I don't know, 4 years ago and I don't think I've been able to top it, but I wrote it in like 20 minutes. And the lines just came like right out of me and everything. So anyway, I think there's just specific moods when it hits you. Sometimes I feel insensitive because I'll be somewhere, like I was outside of my grandmom's hospital room like a year ago and I was like stricken with fear and I couldn't go inside the hospital room. And my mom went in and not me. And I sat outside of the room and I was crying and I wrote this poem. And sometimes it's, you know, seemingly not an appropriate time or it'll be like in church or whatever it is, but I feel so moved that I don't want to lose the inspiration. I don't want to forget how I felt in this moment. Yeah. So I think being able to have that outlet where I can write and then whether it turns out to be a poem or a song, because singing is such a, to be able to put something on paper and then put music to it and to feel the words that you're saying, and also be able to, like, I play guitar, so like strum, and like it's just all very cathartic to feel like you're releasing something. So I think that keeps me sane, truly, because I'll come home from like a hard day from work or whatever and play guitar and sing, and it is like my form of like journalism and stuff, where or journaling, I should say, where I feel like I'm getting that energy out of me, and I just feel like healed and stuff. So writing, music, poetry, it really keeps me going. It's very, if I had to do that, have you ever seen like the GQ does YouTube videos that are like my 10 essential items?
Yeah,
like they'll bring celebrities on. I think like writing, would have to be an essential like part of my life, that I don't know what I would do without that outlet. So yeah.
Question for you. Do you have a specific pen you like to use? Put us on.
I honestly have been using my notes section on my phone more often, which I feel like a pen can be like cathartic in a whole other way too. Like there's something to like picking up a pen and writing something out as opposed to like typing it on your phone or something. But and it's funny because when I was in high school, or when I first started doing this stuff, I would write it all my songs, all like everything I would write down. But now I've kind of switched to the digital method, or I'll do like voice memos or whatever. So, but I miss those days. And I do have a nice set of like, I don't know, they're like really thin markers, and they're different shades of like blue, and I don't know, they were gifted to me, and so yeah, those are my go-to utensils, writing utensils.
I love that you engage in like that kind of activity. Those are kind of activities to draw you close to yourself and acknowledge what you're going through. It's very important.
Yeah. I think my feelings demand to be felt. And something in my relationship with Keelan actually is that, sometimes I'll say to him, like, I'm not saying this because I'm mad or because I think you did anything wrong or whatever, but rather that I need you to understand how I feel in order for me to like process it and whatever, and kind of move on. So I feel like my feelings kind of just demand to be felt, and I need to express them in order for me to just make my own peace with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we talked about how like being creative helps you get through the week. What self-care activities do you do regularly?
I'm a big skincare girl. As you witnessed, I did a face mask last night. So yeah, I think that just helps me feel like, I don't know, when I'm doing something good for my body. I drink a lot of water. I have my emotional support water bottle with me at all times. I focus, on my skincare a lot. I'm definitely not the type, like some of my friends will have conversations and when they get in like kind of depressive moods, like they won't shower for days or like kind of, that kind of thing. But I'm like the opposite, where, well, I'll just feel worse if I don't do that. I might not feel like doing it, but I'm very much like prioritize, like, I guess my self-care, like physically, like making sure I'm showered and focusing on skin and drinking water and stuff. Because even when everything else feels out of control in your life, when you focus on the things that you can control, and making the right steps, like one little thing, like even if your life is in shambles, like one thing I can do is make my bed. One thing I can do is get in the shower, and at least I'm clean. So it's like the small little things, and I think that helps me. And then that goes hand in hand with like everything I just mentioned about the writing and stuff. That's kind of the other part of it. Like that's the physical self-care, and then the emotional self-care, I think, is just writing and singing and expressing myself that way.
That makes me, well, thank you. That makes me recall, I've had the privilege of working with a really great therapist for the past couple of years, and he's taught me to have like the mindset, like this framework, and ask myself, what can I do today? And that respects myself and loves myself today, and then tomorrow as well. And then you're also like mentioning like your sphere of influence, like what you can control, and like following like you know, Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which I'm all about, the basic needs. So what can you do for your basic needs first? So I really appreciate that. Well, we got to wrap things up. I found this Instagram post today that I wanted to share with you. So it says 7 kind things to give to yourself today. And that's love, compassion, understanding, trust, forgiveness, space, and yourself. And I'd love to, you know, think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just taking it all in for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think forgiveness is a really like, you could do a whole episode on forgiveness, because there's a lot of, you know, notions in society that tell us to not forgive, and kind of, you know, hold resentments and stuff, and so, and forgiveness is not only to other people but to yourself too. 100%. I think I've struggled a lot with guilt and, you know, harboring resentment towards my own self and my own past actions. So it's a combination of being able and willing to forgive other people to move on, but also to forgive yourself for certain things. So that's the one that stands out to me the most,
for sure.
You know,
that's me as well. I'd say the forgiveness and space part. Like I've had this like practice for so many years of like beating myself up if I didn't do something right, and thinking that's going to motivate me to do better, but in reality it just tears down my self-confidence and belief in myself. So I'm trying to be more intentional about speaking love to myself and speaking belief. And then space is really, I know it's an emotional day to day, so holding space for me, myself, my family, you, and just allowing what the day is going to be, and just being mindful throughout it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be an exciting day. There might be a lot of different emotions that pop up, you know, at different times, but overall, I hope it's a good experience for you guys, and it makes me emotional just thinking about what you guys are experiencing emotionally and what the day means with all factors involved. So, yeah, I'm excited, and it's going to be good.
Thanks, Danielle. Thanks for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'd love to do it again when we're not under a time crunch to get to a wedding.
Yeah, we got a skirt.
Bop, bop.
Bop, bop. All right, we're out.
Bye.
Bye.